I'm Jeremiah Moore, and I started coming to Elevate Life in 2009, right at like 10 years old, into the 5th grade.
And I am Brinklee Moore, and I started coming to ELC in 2007, and I was about 6 or 7 years old.
We met actually in Shock out there in the X-Pod in our kids ministry, which was for 5th and 6th grade. The first week I was ever here at Big Church with my parents, we had someone from the worship team come up to me in the lobby and meet me and my family and was like, hey, like, do you play an instrument? And I was like, no. And they said, well, like, if you could play an instrument, which one would you want to play? And I was like, the drums, like it's the coolest one. And so he was like, okay, awesome. Like we have practices every Saturday with our kids band and with our power plant team. And like, we wanted to get you involved. And that's literally how I started playing drums and being on the team. I had no prior experience to that and literally just learned showing up.
I have always been passionate about singing and just worshiping. And so when I started coming here, I immediately joined our kids worship team. Honestly, that's where we met.
Yeah.
I sang and he played the drums. I started being on our youth worship team. He was on our youth worship team. So honestly, we were together all the time. I started noticing him more and being like, who is this guy? He's so cute. And his sister, his older sister Morgan, ended up being my mentor. So I spent a lot of time around him and his family, honestly, until we were about like 15 and 16. And I was like, I really like this guy. And he started talking to me more. I can remember one night talking to Morgan and I was like, your brother's talking to me. And I think he's really cute, but like, I don't know what to do.
He won't stop texting me.
He won't stop texting me. And she was like, Brinklee, like you have to ask what his intentions are. And I was like, okay, like fine, I'll do it. And so I remember sending the text.
Saturday night.
Being so scared, knowing I was gonna see him the next morning. And he responded with like, I don't know, the most dreamiest response.
You're so pretty, you're so nice. I want to be more than friends with you. Yes. Whatever that looks like. I got the best response, which was me too.
Yes.
And it was the most exciting thing. And so we have these butterflies excited and just ended with the, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow. And then saw each other the next day for worship in the power plant and for the kids area.
We took our first little picture together.
Our first selfie together. And that was the start of it all, of like really dating and pursuing each other.
And the cool thing was, for me, even like growing up here, seeing Pastor Keith and Sheila and how they met young, I knew that I wanted to be someone who met someone in the house, got married to someone in the house. It was just, I wanted someone to want what I wanted. And so he truly modeled that with me. He was like, we aren't gonna hold hands, we're not gonna be alone, we're not gonna kiss, we're not gonna say I love you for the first year of being together. So honestly, that's what we did. For the first year, we hung out with friends, we didn't hold hands, we always said, I like you. That was like our thing. But we like got to be best friends. Like he was truly like, out of anyone in the whole world, he was my best friend. So we dated through high school and I decided to join our internship here at the church, just be truly fully immersed in our culture, in who we are. And I did that and instantly realized all of the things inside of me that I still wanted to grow and develop. And so in that time, we ended up deciding to break up. So it was really sad, but for 3 years we were apart. I ended up moving away, and in that time away, I knew that he's who God had for me. And so when I moved home, I was the girl on a mission. I knew who I wanted, I knew that it was him, and I was gonna marry him. We quickly got back together and quickly got engaged.
Like, all right.
This is it, you're the one, finally, here we are. And then we got married in October of 2021.
When I was 16, unexpectedly my dad passed away, and it left, of course, a void of a father, but in the sense of fathers of choice, in the sense of brotherhood. I've said, even now, where I should feel the most fatherless, I don't. It's like almost the opposite, and that comes from showing up every Sunday, that comes from serving on a team, that comes from being a part of youth ministry, even when I thought my life could be at the worst downturn of it. But once I said like, okay, well, like I can run from God, I can run from all these things that my parents have taught me, but like that's not gonna get me anywhere in life. And so I'm gonna push towards God, I'm gonna push towards serving, I'm gonna be inside the church every time the doors are open. And like that's really what fully transformed my life.
As a young girl, and even honestly into adulthood, I have struggled with a lot of fear. I've struggled with a lot of anxiety, a lot of OCD, if you will. I told my mom since a young age that I always want to be here because it's like when I step through the door, it's like it all goes away. And like honestly, it makes me emotional. It makes me just so grateful because honestly, if Pastor Keith and Sheila didn't plan a place like this, I don't know if I'd ever find somewhere. And I know it's because the Holy Spirit, and I know it's because God's here, but this is a place genuinely where I feel like any struggle, any attack from the enemy, it goes away. Like it's not here. Yeah. And I craved that. I craved feeling that. I craved helping other people feel that. And I want to be the type of person that even raises a family here because of how my parents raised me here. This place and my family have really made me into who I feel like God's called me to be. When I think about how our parents raised us, it makes me extremely excited to raise kids here, to raise our family here, to build our legacy here, because honestly, I know what it did for us. And it makes me just ecstatic to know that our kids are gonna get to grow up in a place like this, where our lives were changed, and they get to see that my mom and dad were here from a young age. They grew up here, they changed here, they found each other here, and I feel like that'll even give them a hope of like all that God has for them being planted here.
I think who you are is more important than what you did.
Yeah.
And your legacy in that of who you choose to have a relationship with, how you choose to be obedient, what you give God to work with and other people something to respect is truly what you're known and remembered for.
Yeah.
And so knowing that that's been modeled from me, from my dad,
yeah,
and from Pastor Keith, from this house, that it's up to me to be the greatest man of God that I can be, because that's the next level and the next step that my future kids will get to start from.
If I could challenge any parent, any child in the room, is just to make church not an option. If your kids don't want to come, it's not an option. Like, this is where we are, this is where we're gonna be, because I promise you in the long run, it's gonna change their life. Students, children in the room, you may not want to right now, but I promise you that when you choose to just come, just be in the door and be available, God is gonna move. And parents, don't let their pushback push you back. Make it challenge you to go, no, like, we're gonna be the family that's here on Sunday morning. We're gonna be the family that chooses legacy, because even though maybe you don't come from a good legacy, you have the choice right now to create the legacy that you want. And that starts with you as the parent going, we're gonna be here when the doors are open.
For as long as I've grown up, it's like I could be saved and be a Christian, but it's like I know my parents' God. I know who my parents worship. I know that, we come to church and we raise our hands because that's what my parents do and that's what they model, which is great. But at some point, I have to be so involved that I want to raise my hands and worship because I'm worshiping the God that I know. Or I want to have friends, not because my parents put me on a baseball team and said, here's your friends, or this is the school you go to, these are your friends. But like, no, these are other families that have kids that are all striving after the same thing we're striving as a family. And like, you get to choose to be like, oh, that's the friend I want.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, is like, you can't teach that or give that to you without being in this house.
Yeah, and I feel like as a parent, you could see us, and we don't have kids yet. And I understand that, but we are the product of the child. Yeah. We are the product of parents saying, church isn't an option, we're going. You can look at us and know that your children can do what we're doing if you just choose to say yes to Sunday every Sunday. I think legacy for us isn't even an option, it's like a dream. Like, we desire to be the next of what our family is, the next of Elevate Life Church. Like, it's just a passion now. Not even something we have to decide about.
It's not a coincidence, it'll happen.
Yes, it's happening. We are the legacy.